This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares is giving his supply base an ultimatum. Either cut your prices or we're going to make your parts in-house. Tavares says suppliers aren't moving fast enough to cut costs on electric cars and believes Stellantis can move faster. He's been warning that Chinese EV makers have a 30% cost advantage, and that's how much he wants suppliers to cut costs by. He also stopped construction of a battery plant with Mercedes-Benz in Europe so it can change over to making cheaper battery cells. Making things in-house can be very profitable, but it's also very capital intensive. Last year, Stellantis spent $9.7 billion on CapEx, and if he wants to increase vertical integration, Tavares better be ready to spend a lot more than that. Well, here's an interesting twist on what's happening with EVs in the U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, who played a major role in getting government subsidies for electric vehicles, is encouraging automakers to sue the U.S. government over those rules. He said the U.S. Treasury watered down the legislation by allowing more battery materials and parts to be sourced from China than the law required. He said the legislation was written to reduce America's dependence on China, but the Treasury's action means that the U.S. will continue to rely on China for years. Manchin says this will hurt domestic automakers, but we doubt very much automakers will sue the U.S. Treasury. After all, they're the ones buying those Chinese materials. Chinese automaker Li Auto really overshot expectations for its first all-electric vehicle, the Megavan. Last year, it sold about 376,000 vehicles, all of them extended range EVs. But it expected to sell 8,000 Megavans a month, so Li Auto increased its sales target this year to 800,000 units. However, the launch of the Mega ended up being pushed back to March of this year, and Li Auto only sold 3,200 that month and a little over 1,100 in April. So now the company is slashing its sales forecast for a second time. First, it went from 800,000 down to a range of 560 to 640,000 units, but now it's been cut to 480,000 vehicles. You might think that's because EV demand is slowing in China like most major markets, but that's not really the case. NEV sales were up an expected 30% or more last month, and several EV makers had massive jumps in sales. One of those companies was NIO, who saw its sales go up over 233% to more than 20,500 vehicles. But could it suffer the same over-expectations as Li Auto? Last year, NIO sold about 450,000 vehicles, but it just launched a new, more affordable brand called Envo and also got approval for a new plant that would bring its production capacity to 1 million units. However, NIO only confirmed it would build 100,000 units a year on one shift out of a total expected plant capacity of 600,000 units, and the company claimed it won't have any overcapacity. NIO is also benefiting from expanding its battery swapping partnerships. It has deals with GAC, FAW, Chang'an, Geely, JAC, Chery, and Lotus, and it now has well over 2,000 swapping stations in China. Volvo announced that it has kicked off production of its fully electric EX90 SUV in South Carolina. The model features a 111 kilowatt-hour battery pack that provides 600 kilometers or 372 miles of range based on the WLTP test cycle. And its two electric motors provide 380 kilowatts or 517 horsepower. Volvo didn't say how many electric EX90s it will build in South Carolina, but the plant already makes the S60 sedan, and as we said yesterday, Polestar will make the Polestar 3 there as well. That plant has the capacity to build 150,000 cars a year.
Michigan is leading the charge in mobility and innovation, and I can't think of a better state to be in.
Earlier this year, Elon Musk said he was uncomfortable further developing AI and robotics at Tesla unless he has 25% control over the company. And there's all kinds of headlines today saying he might be willing to follow through on that threat. That's because CNBC reports Musk told chipmaker Nvidia to prioritize shipments of processors to his other companies, X and xAI, instead of Tesla. The automaker is using the processors to develop a supercomputer to help train its autonomous vehicles and humanoid robots. But Elon Musk responded to the report on X and defended the decision, saying that Tesla wasn't ready to use the chips yet, and they would have just sat around in a warehouse. He also said that he expects Tesla to spend $3 to $4 billion on Nvidia chips this year. Tesla shareholders will vote next week on whether or not to reinstate Musk's $56 billion pay package, which was voided by a Delaware judge earlier this year. Ford posted its sales for May in the U.S., and it had a pretty good month. It sold just over 190,000 vehicles, up more than 11% from a year ago, and the growth came from EVs and hybrids, both of which were up 65%. Ford sold nearly 9,000 EVs and well over 17,000 hybrids. Level 3 autonomous systems are making progress in China. BAIC joined a new intelligent connected vehicle consortium that's focused on expanding the technology, and it already has approval to test L3 systems on expressways. And Zeekr just got the same approval. It will test level 3 on highways and expressways in Shanghai. However, we're not sure how capable these systems are. For example, Mercedes has the only approved for sale L3 system that we're aware of, which also operates on the highway, but only up to 40 miles per hour or about 64 kilometers an hour. BMW revealed the new 1 Series. It's the same model underneath, but it's been heavily reworked and is a little longer and taller. Under the hood is a range of gas and diesel engines, with the top 4-cylinder gas engine pumping out 300 horsepower. Combined with all-wheel drive, it'll do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.9 seconds. Since this is BMW's entry-level car, the interior looks a little cheaper than your usual BMW, but it's still got a clean, modern appearance with some color accents that add a little youthful flair, in my opinion. The new 1 Series will start launching in Europe this October, followed by other markets like Japan. While Volkswagen is delaying the launch of the ID.7 electric sedan in North America indefinitely, it's expanding the model's lineup in Europe. The GTX sees a power boost to 250 kilowatts, up from 210 for the standard model, which gives it a 0 to 100 kilometer an hour time of 5.4 seconds. It has a range of 595 kilometers or 370 miles based on the WLTP cycle. There's a wagon version of the GTX as well, but that extra weight slows it down by 1/10 of a second from 0 to 100, and it gets 10 less kilometers of range. The ID.7 is also getting a longer range model called the Pro S, with a 709 kilometer or 440 mile range. The wagon version gets 690 kilometers or 428 miles of range. All of the new models are equipped with an 86 kilowatt hour battery instead of the standard 77 kilowatt hour pack. Pre-orders for the models start tomorrow in Europe. The GTX starts just over 63,000 euros or nearly $69,000, while the Pro S starts at about 59,000 euros or about 64 grand. What do you think is the best car company in the world? You probably have a personal opinion, but let's look at the facts. And our 2024 industry report card ranks the top automakers in the world strictly by the numbers. You can find our video about it on the Autoline website at www.autoline.tv, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. The report card looks at 7 different categories that include revenue, operating profit, operating margin, profit per unit, vehicle sales, R&D spending, and quality. Then we rank the car companies by who did best in each category. And then we combine all that to pick the best run automaker in the world. I think most of you will be surprised by who came out on top. And sorry, no hints. You're going to have to look for yourself. But that's the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. MEDC, where Michigan businesses are powering the future of mobility. Tejan Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by ZF.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Tejan Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Intrepid's NeoVi Pi, allowing automotive engineers to interface, capture, and monitor vehicle data using Raspberry Pi. As a matter of fact, it's the automotive industry's first robust platform for Raspberry Pi, featuring Intrepid CAN-FD technology and Raspberry Pi compute module. The NeoVi Pi is designed for automotive environments, allowing use with relative power ranges and applications. In addition, the NeoVi Pi enables you to use the Raspberry Pi for compute while avoiding additional development to adapt to network environments. That makes the NeoVi Pi powerful enough to solve your vehicle network problems, yet small enough to fit in your backpack. One of many Intrepid tools used for developing zonal architecture and software-defined vehicles.
When the elements are working against you, being confident in your grip on the road is what really matters. Bridgestone Alenza tires, improved acceleration in wet conditions.